the earth and from walking up and down in it. And over in the book of 2 Timothy, a little bit more reading here, chapter 4, verse 1. It says, I charge thee therefore before God and the Lord Jesus Christ, who shall judge the quick and the dead at his appearing and his kingdom. Preach the word, be instant in season, out of season. Reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lusts shall they heap to themselves teachers having itching ears. And they shall turn away their ears from the truth, and shall be turned unto fables. In verse 9 it says, Do thy diligence to come shortly unto me, for Demas hath forsaken me, having loved this present world, and is departed into Thessalonica, and Crescens to Galatia, and Titus unto Dalmatia. Thank you for standing for the reading of the word. I thought over here in the book of Job, we read, and it said that now in the days that the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord. And it said, and Satan came also among them. He came right among the very sons of God. That's an ego. And I thought, kicked right out of heaven. But when the sons of God come to present themselves, Satan comes too. But God asked him, and the Lord asked him a question and said, Whence comest thou? And Satan, in our words, the Lord asked him, Where have you been? And Satan said, From walking up and down in the earth. What was he walking? What was he looking for? He's looking for a soul. I thought if I could tonight, for just for a few minutes, a few moments, I'd like to preach on avoiding Satan's traps. Like I said, we're having revival, and I don't want to slow it down. Don't want to discourage. But I thought, if the devil can make himself present when the sons of God make an assembly, then he can come right in the midst of revival and try to set a trap. I thought, I've got a trap with me here tonight. And I've been using these a whole lot because I garden. And there's little critters out there that like my garden just about as much as I do, Brother McKinney. And I thought this one right here is small. It's not my big one. But I thought the last couple of weeks I've been fighting with some raccoons. And I got a trail camera set up. And I set it up, Brother Ricky, so I could see what was eating my garden. And I've got a picture of the little night bandit. And so I began to set my trap. And the thing about the trap is that trap itself is not going to lure no raccoon or no groundhog or nothing else. It's a wire cage, and it does not entice him. But when I put that in it, that changes the difference. And I thought, I've been baiting that old trap up, and I've had it sitting out in the yard, out in the edge of the garden, and it sat out there for several weeks. But the problem was, every night I was going out there, every day when I come home from work, which the bait normally goes back behind this little lever right here. The bait's gone, and the trap ain't tripped. Because the coon is very tricky. They're smart. They know what they're doing. And their little paws are like hands. He's reaching across that thing, getting my bait, getting away with it. And for a couple of weeks, I have fed the raccoon, if you would. Which I guess it's better for him to eat my deer corn than to eat my corn that I'm going to put in my freezer. But you know, a lot of times we fail to realize that Satan has got a trap set. And I thought we read over here in Timothy, as Paul began to talk, how that there's going to come a time when they're going to turn away from truth. They don't want to hear truth. And I thought if we've ever lived, Brother Brad, in a time when people don't want truth, it's now. I thought there's people, and we've all, if we look back to our families and our friends, every one of us can have no doubt got family and friends that we look back that one time Brother Jonathan stood for the truth. Right. But now they are accepting anything. Right. And a lot of times it's if they don't let down for their children, they let down for their grandchildren. Right. And they begin to accept things, trying to make an easier way to keep their children in church. But I'm sorry, Brother Ricky, but if keeping them in church is not sufficient enough, if they're not grounded and rooted in the gospel, and they've got something that's going to keep them from the world. Right. I thought, whenever we was young, and I was in the 6th grade, and I never did like school. I never liked school. I mean, when I was at school, I could daydream about the things I could be doing when I got home. That's just the way I was. But Mom and Dad decided that because of our grades, and not that I didn't have the ability to do it, I just didn't like school, Brother Bill. But anyway, they took us out of the public school, and they put us in a Christian school. And, you're saying, well, I've got my children away from the world. I've got them in a Christian school, and that's good. But I thought the problem is you can never get them away from the world. Because the problem with the Christian school, unfortunately, is a lot of times you end up with a lot of delinquents that are about to be kicked out of the public school. They can't do nothing else with them. So Mom and Dad, as a last resort, I hope that's not what they've done with me, but anyway, as a last resort, they put them in the Christian school, trying to help them, trying to keep them from getting kicked plumb out of school and put into juvenile detention or whatever. So there's problems wherever you go. There's always going to be a trap set for your soul. Right. But Paul here, after he said that, he told him, he said, told Timothy, he said that they're turning away and they've got itching ears for the things, they don't want the truth. But then he went on to say it, and he told him to be diligent and come to him. He said, for Demas hath forsaken me, having loved this present world. And I thought the things of this world are so alluring to people. And I thought this is youth service. And like I said, as I began to prepare for this tonight, I began to think about it. And I thought the things of the world will allure us. They will draw us. They're made attractive for a reason. You don't see them like you used to. I don't guess. I don't have TV no more. But as far as I know, they have banned a lot of the commercials. But I remember when I was a young boy, Brother Ricky, whenever the commercials would come on for the cigarettes, especially, the Marlboro Man was one of the most popular there was because of the type of man he was. He was a man. He wasn't now I reckon they want to lure people with a bunch of sissies, but I'm not going to go there. But I thought the Marlboro Man, he was a man. He came up riding a big horse, and he had his cowboy hat on and his boots, and they wanted somebody that young people would look to try to lure them to their to the things that was going to addict them, to the cigarettes that was going to captivate them. And that was good for a while. But then most of us can remember Joe Camel, the old Camel riding around in his convertible smoking his Camel cigarettes. And even though it was a cartoon figure, it was still something to draw the mind, to allure us to the things of the world. And I thought that's a trap of Satan. Like I said, because of the publicity that cigarettes have got and the cancer and the society and all that, they've had to withdraw those because luring the young people. But I thought, what else is it? That's just one thing that they've done away. But Satan is always going to have something to allure us into his trap. Like I said, I put the bait in the trap, and the raccoon would go through here and go back here, avoid the trigger, get the corn, go back out, and eat it in front of the trout and leave the empty cob laying in front of it. And, that sounds funny. You say, well, us preachers come up with messages funny ways sometimes. But like I said, for a couple weeks, I caught one last week, and the other one was still doing it. And he'd get the bait and take off with it. And so the problem was, the trap set, the bait's luring, and you say, but the coon's getting away. But the problem was, he kept coming back. Right. And a lot of times we do that. We got Demas here, as Paul says he has forsaken him, having loved this present world. And the thing, I guess you could say, that's about this present world that is so alluring is because really it's all we know. I told the story, we talked to my neighbor. We were out there working in a yard a couple of years ago, and there's a bank there that was on our property line, which he sold that piece of property, and to another neighbor, but we were staring, and he and I were together cleaning that bank off. And we had a weed eater down there, and we got through, and we found us a shade tree, and we stood and began to talk, and we began to talk about he goes to the Methodist church, and we began to talk about church, and if I strike up a conversation, I like to talk about church, but then we got to talk about the things God had blessed us with. Then we began to talk about the things. I went on into things that I was expecting God to bless me with. Then the conversation led on into heaven. And I told him, I said, Joe, sometimes I just get excited about thinking about going. Sometimes I just wish the Lord would just come on and take me to glory. And he said, now hold on, Mitch. I ain't never been there. I've read about it, and I think it's a good place, but I'm not in no hurry to die and go. He was looking at the carnal side of it. He was looking at the death perspective. Brother Brad, I'm not in no hurry to die either. But if the Lord steps out on the cloud of glory today and calls me home, Brother James, I'm ready to go. I'm excited about it. But I thought, but because this world is all that we know, it's so easy to be caught up into the things and the lures that this world holds for us. Right. I thought, like I said, it don't take no genius to realize that a raccoon likes corn. A lot of people like to take a can of tuna and stick in there, and they like fish too. But if he's already in the corn patch, then the best thing to put in the trap is corn. But a lot of times we begin to keep on, and like I said, the problem with it is some people will always fall for the same traps. You got to be careful. You don't want to get too personal with some things, but like I said, some people I guess you could say it's easier for the devil to trap than others. Like I said about the corn, because that's what they like, that's what they're going to go after, and they're going to continue on with it. And I work with a man, and I did work with a man, and he had a problem. And several times he and I talked about his problem. Several times, Brother Bill, he would make an attempt to do right. But the problem was he wasn't getting a hold of what he needed to keep him in. And that problem he had was always a downfall to him. He kept going right back to that problem. And he would tell me, I know what it takes to live right. I know what it needs. I know what I got to do. But this is what I like, and this is what I got a problem with. And I thought he never could. And as far as I know, he still never has totally submitted himself to God in a way that he can get over that problem. The problem is that problem has become such a lure to him that Satan has got him in the trap in such a way that he can't get away. Sometimes the enemy will put the bait in there, and he'll let us play around in a while, that we go in and we can mess with this, and then we come back out, and we think, well, I didn't get hung up that time. I'm able to let this go. But I thought the problem is the things that Satan is holding on to us are there to captivate us in a way that after a while we're going to get caught. But you know, like I said, the biggest trap, I guess you would say, that the enemy is using for our young people today, and really, if you think about it, it's not our young people only, but it's some of the older people. The biggest trap and the biggest bait that he's liking to use today is the fact that they say, well, everybody else is doing it. You know what? All of us, if we say that, can think about when we was kids, we come home and we tell mom, I want to do so-and-so. Why do you want to do that? Everybody else is. If everybody else jumped off a bridge, are you going to jump off a bridge? That's just what we always hear. But I thought it's that common thing of wanting to fit in. Right. And I thought the desiring to fit in to the things around us is one of the things that'll trap us quicker than anything else. And I thought the thing about it is like I said, the devil will let us come in and go for a while before he really tightens the clutches down. A young lady that comes to my mind as I'd seen her come to the church, and I'd seen the power of God move on her, and her and her family, and I could see how as she began to get older, how that the things of the world began to allure her, and began to draw her, and you could see how actions changed. You see how that whenever you begin to talk about things that we're seeing, I'm not talking about just things that are just maybe there's some things like I mentioned tonight. Some things are convictions. Some things are sins. So I'm not going to get up here and preach to you some of my convictions. That, like I made mention last week, some things that God just dealt with me. If you do this and draw just a little closer to me, then I'm going to bless you. And whenever you do that and you give those convictions over, that's not. I'm not going to get up and preach that if you do it, you're going to hell for it. But I thought some things are just sin. Right. And when you got somebody that's coming to the church and they know the blessings of God, they've been raised in the house of God, they've heard the scripture taught that things are abomination, and you make mention of homosexuality, and they become offensive. I've got friends that are that way. Then don't be talking about them. I thought that's just a trap that the enemy is setting to allure you into the same mess. And I thought, or you begin to talk about just whatever, and you make mention of the sin, and they come to the defense of all their friends and say, "Don't talk about that." I've got friends that do that. After a while, then you're going to find yourself doing the same thing that your friends done, just because you're wanting to fit in. Right. And I thought, like I said, the biggest thing that the enemy's got is the fact that he's going to keep luring us. He's going to find out what we like. But some of us aren't allured by the same things. Like Brother Sparks said the other night, when I was younger, I wished I hadn't have. Some people have the testimony that they have never done a lot of things, but by running with who I ran with, I tried smoking. I tried chewing tobacco. And I thought, now that I'm 40-year-old or 42-year-old, I've still got asthma. I have weak lungs, and it's hereditary. I've seen my grandmother's, my Granny Sparks' she's had 2 brothers that have died prematurely because of lung disease and from smoking, and not lung cancer, just simply that their lungs weren't able to support their habit that they had. I look back and the devil's not even going to tempt me with smoking, Brother Bill, because that's just not even. But there's other things that he might throw at me that he wouldn't even throw at you, right. Because it's something that we're desiring. Right. And there's just so much out there that we can find ourselves getting close to that we need to completely avoid. Things that are so close to sin. That's the problem, and I've heard a lot of preachers preach on it. I've heard we all have. How that sometimes, Brother Sparks got up preaching one time and talking about people using words that are kissing cousins to cussing. And, and it's easy to develop those words, Brother James, and use little bywords instead of using a cuss word. And we heard, I believe he's Grady Dunn, I believe is the preacher's name. He's a Baptist preacher and he's a comedian. And he come up with ventilation words. He called it for the preachers. And because I guess if you're Baptist, you can cuss if you want to. And unless you're a preacher, then you got to have a different standard. So he came up with ventilation words for preachers. But I thought if you're using those words in anger to ventilate, Brother Brad, then it's kissing cousins to cussing. So you need to stay away from it. And then there's other things that we can do that are calling in. We say, but I'm not doing this, but we're doing other things that are so close to the thing that is sin. And and I've been praying, I've been talking to God. And especially in the last couple of weeks. And I thought, Lord, these things are they're not really a sin, but they're hindering me in a way that I can see that if I just stay away from it, I can draw closer to you. And I thought that is my soul's desire, is to draw closer to God. And I thought we've got to have a desire to draw close to God. And I thought the thing about it is, even though Satan will come around whenever we're in revival, I thought as long as we're drawing close to God, I thought he's not going to get us in his trap. And I thought that's the thing we got to avoid, is a trap. Because like I said, as they come against the song tonight, and I'm closing, the devil will allow us, to come around and get in for a little while and say, oh, but I got away with that. I know people that have, and we all have, probably, people that mess around with things just close enough, like I said, to sin. And I say, but it's not bothering me. But the thing is, it keeps luring us in. And like I said, I was setting those traps. And I was putting my bait back here, and that raccoon was going in. He was getting my bait, getting away with it. So night before last, I said, oh, buddy, you stole my corn for the last time. So I went into the building. I got me a drill. I got me a drill bit. And I drilled a hole through the corn. I got me a piece of aluminum electric fence wire, and I wired the corn to the back of the cage. And the coon went in. He had to fight for the corn. While he was fighting, he got trapped. Right. He got careless. He didn't get away that time. Right. Needless to say, he ain't cute no more. And he ain't getting my corn no more. And I thought, that's what the devil's after us for. He'll let us get away for a little while. Right. But after a while, we'll step on the trap. And he'll have us. I thought that's what happens when we begin to mess around with the things of the world. Right. Messing around with friends of the world. Right. I may mention whenever I was, Sister Kathy and I was dating, I worked with a fella, and I had seen the power of God on this boy. And he knew what it is to live right. And at one time, I feel like he lived a good life. But he backslid. He and I started working together. We became good friends. And I began to realize real quick what a downpour he was on my life. And I had to make a decision that it's either God or my friends. I had to forsake my friends. And I thought I would rather forsake friends of this world than be like Demas and forsake the work of God and be lost. Because it would be said that I loved this present world and the things in it. As they give us a song tonight, I know I'm not shouted loud, preached hard, but I preached my heart to you. And I thought there's a trap that's set. And not just for the young people, but I thought there's a trap set for every one of us. Satan desires. Brother Elmo told me one time, he said, I'm an old man, but Satan still would like to see me fall. He said, I'm of no benefit to him. I've done exhausted my life, and I'm no benefit at all to Satan. But he would still like to trap me and get me. And I thought, we might not be of no benefit to him, but I thought he wants to get us out of the way. And how can he do it? By setting something attractive before us to draw us in. And I thought, I don't know about you, but Brother Jonathan, I'm going to stay as far away from the things of this world as I can. And I thought that it's so easy to listen, and you listen to the radios, and you've got your I'm going to quote gospel singers, and I remember one time years ago, I was just a young boy, maybe in my early teens. We had a singing out here, and I was standing outside, and they had their big bus pulled in, and I was just a teenage boy, and I'll be honest, I was doing things that was not right. I wasn't serving God. I mean, if I died, I'd been lost. But I knew what it was to serve God. And I was standing outside the bus, and I heard those singers after they walked off the platform, and they had performed that night, and they was talking, and they told one of them, they said, what are you going to do? They said, well, I think we need to go on down and stop so-and-so, and I don't know. They said, they got a new movie out, and he told what the movie was. And when I heard that they was going to watch that, I thought, no longer did I ever have any confidence in it, because I knew what was in that movie. And I thought, they're going to watch that? That's full of vulgar scenes and ungodly scenes, bedroom scenes, things that what in the world would somebody that's got a ministry be doing watching those things? And I thought that's just a lure for a young person to look and say, well, if they can do it, I can do it. And I thought that's why we got to be careful who we watch, who we follow. And I thought if it's luring us and drawing us further away from God, leave it alone. But only desire the things that's going to draw us closer to God. And I thought, Brother Brad, I don't care what it is. If God says, if you do this, I'm going to walk a little closer to you, and I'm going to walk a little closer. I thought Enoch didn't walk with God and was no more by doing things that was contrary to what God said. I thought Enoch had a relationship with God, that he walked hand in hand, side by side God. He avoided all the traps that Satan set. And one day, whenever he was walking in the cool of the day, and they got a little closer to God's house than his house, God said, Enoch, she's going home with me today. It's a long walk back to your place, but we're just right around the corner to my place. You just go home with me today. I thought, Sister Marcia, that's what I'm looking for. When the Lord come back and says, hey, you walked down here long enough. We're